to the Daytona 500, the U.S. Open, the World Series, college football, WWE SmackDown, and Super Bowl 54. The world's biggest events are on Fox Sports. We are on.
Today in New Orleans, Kirk Cousins will make his Vikings postseason debut as he tries to take down Drew Brees and the Saints and get the signature win he's been searching for. NFC Wildcard Sunday is underway. It all starts right now on Fox NFL Kickoff.
Dude, he was literally an inch away. Pete Carroll is so mad at me right now. I'm so bad. I know. All right, I gotta go. Everything in the NFL, from the blown calls to Patrick Mahomes' voice, is our creation. And I know some of you have been a little upset with us. Sorry, New Orleans. But we're taking care of you this week. I mean, you get Seahawks, Eagles, Russell Wilson, a man created in my own image, up against Carson Wentz, a man we mess with just for fun by giving him a name that's a combo of Carson Daly and Pete Wentz. Who is that? Plus, right here on Fox, we're giving you a matchup of miracles. Will we let Drew Brees and Michael Thomas shred that top 5 Minnesota defense? Or will we finally give Kirk Cousins the signature win he's been searching for? So sit back and enjoy Wildcard Sunday. And when you witness something you can't believe, just remember to look up in the heavens and say, "Thank you, Will Arnett." That won't be weird.
Welcome to Fox NFL Kickoff, presented by IBM.
If you needed any more proof that the wild card is just that, it may be dynasty done after last night as the Titans take down the Patriots at Foxborough. Much more on that and what it means for Tom Brady coming up. Meanwhile, the NFC wild card will be decided today. We've got you covered in the early slot with Minnesota and New Orleans, while the Eagles host the Seahawks later this afternoon. Welcome, everybody, to Fox NFL Kickoff. I'm Carissa Thompson alongside Tony Gonzalez, Mike Vick, the coach Dave Wonstadt, and Colin Coward. A big thanks to Will Arnett for helping us kick off our Sunday. Be sure to catch Will in his new show, Lego Masters, premiering February 5th on Fox. Here we go, you guys.
Well, hey, I think from all of us, congratulations. Someone got engaged today.
That's
good. Look at that. Nice ring.
Well, there's hope for me after all. You know, he was like, I wasn't going to propose, and then I found out you won the Super Six. So, that was the difference maker. He's like, you're a winner. Yes,
I can't wait for the
team
player. You're are we going to be invited to the wedding? I can't wait to go to the wedding.
It's a small, intimate ceremony with just my friends, so no.
Make sure you have a chocolate fountain, okay? It's a nice touch.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. A lot of teams are also looking for a ring. Super Bowl ring. So here we are in the playoffs. Tony, you've advocated for the Vikings all year long, but they get a huge test today in the Saints, and not a lot of people are giving them a chance. What do you make of this game?
Well, there's nothing about like being in a place where nobody is giving you a chance right now. Everybody's saying that they're going to lose today, but I believe that they have a good shot at beating the Saints. And you look at the defensive side of the ball, because that's where I think that they have a chance. They have to, obviously, they got to shut down Drew Brees and that high-powered offense, but they have guys, there's 6 Pro Bowlers, 5 All-Pros, former All-Pros. They have guys that can go out there and get the job done. I think the X-Man is Xavier Rhodes. He has not been playing this year, but if he can go out there and do a good job, limit Michael Thomas 5 catches, 70 yards, somewhere around there, they have a legitimate shot at getting after Drew Brees and these Saints.
Mike, when we looked at yesterday's games, Ryan Tannehill and Josh Allen made their first postseason debuts. Now you get Carson Wentz making what's hard to believe is his first playoff start.
Yes.
What do you expect from him today?
I expect him to come out and play with poise and confidence and show, like he's shown the last 4 weeks, that he's in total control of the offense. And this team has thrived and been able to thrive as being an underdog in these type of situations. And I love the way they've been able to put it together. Like I said, this team can beat any team in the National Football League with the new formula offense that they've been running, and they got some momentum. And I think they ride that momentum until the wheels fall off, and definitely got a shot at winning this game today. I'm excited for the Philadelphia Eagles and Carson Wentz. I just want to see him go out and perform.
Everyone kept counting him out with all the injuries, so here they are. All right, well, for more on the big stories on and off the field this week, let's bring in our favorite, Peter Schrager. Schrags, what do you have for us?
Yeah, Chris, a handful of teams are looking to hire their next head coach. Let's get right to the New York Giants, who yesterday interviewed Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy in the morning and Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator Wink Martindale in the afternoon. That's Wink on the left. He's in his 50s and is a defensive coach. He came in yesterday to the New York Giants in a 3.5-hour interview and presented that guy, Joe Brady, the 30-year-old passing game coordinator for the LSU Tigers, as his offensive coordinator that he would bring with him and present to the New York Giants brass. He also told ownership and the general manager, Dave Gettleman, I don't want to pick the players. I don't want to worry about that. I just want to coach football. Of course, the Giants are going to be busy. They're also going to expect to meet with Matt Rule and Josh McDaniels this week. Speaking of Josh McDaniels, a very popular name, of course, with last night's results with the Patriots game, he is expected to interview with at least 3 different teams this week. You're looking at the Panthers, the Browns, and the Giants. What's significant with the loss last night, the Panthers weren't originally slated to be allowed to speak with McDaniels until Friday at 6 p.m. if they were expecting to play in the weekend. That's when Bill Belichick said that's the window you can meet with him. Now the Panthers can move it all the way up. He can meet with these teams Monday and Tuesday and get going. Josh McDaniels could be an NFL head coach by the end of the week with one of these teams, or maybe a fourth.
Yeah, good stuff, Shreg. You know, when I look at these 4 teams that are still open, you know, they all have talent, okay, at different positions. Everybody feels that they can coach them a little bit better than what they are right now. That's how coaches think. 3 of them all have quarterbacks, except for Carolina. They all have quarterbacks that they think will be their franchise in the future. Yep. I remember Don Shula when I was kind of looking at jobs before I took the Bears job, and he says, Dave, remember this. He says the 3 most important people in the NFL when you take a job, number 1, your owner, number 2, your owner, and number 3, your owner. And when I look at the Giants, the Panthers, the Browns, the Cowboys, to me, the Giants ownership situation really gives a head coach an opportunity to be successful.
Totally agree. This is the greatest year I ever remember of candidates. This is incredible. Some years you don't have a lot of candidates. You have Ron Rivera is off the market, but he got to a Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy got to one and won it. I have Josh McDaniels is on the market. He's the whiz kid from the current dynasty. He's going to leave probably, as Schrag knows. I've got 2 great young college coaches, Lincoln Riley, Matt Rule. I've got a senior statesman, Urban Meyer, who's won multiple titles. This is an incredible year for the Dallas Cowboys or the Giants. There are years where you're stuck with an old guy who's been fired 3 times, and the young guys aren't ready yet. There are 5 or 6 different type of candidates. Cowboys, Giants I think would work with 4 or 5 different coaches being hired. I don't think there's some magic elixir, one magic guy, and that's what we often see with years.
Well, speaking of coaches, Drew Brees has had a great coach, and that relationship really works in New Orleans. Aaron Andrews sits down with Drew Brees, but first, here's what else is in store today.
Coming up, the Saints are rolling in Big Easy as they get ready to host Minnesota. Alvin Kamara and Jared Cook give us the inside scoop on why this offense has the miracle cure to get past the Vikings and set up a date with Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau. Plus, as the Seahawks fly east to take on the Eagles, both had their wings clipped by injury. We'll break down which wounded bird is likely to soar in the city of brotherly love. And later, we're kicking it with Gronk as he takes us on a special trip for a glimpse at doing the playoffs the Patriot way. All that and more ahead on this wild card edition of Fox NFL Kickoff.
People think my job is easy. You just go on TV and talk, right? Well, each season, there's over 1,500 players and hundreds of games. Plus passing yards, turnovers, injuries. We have to be ready to analyze any of it on live TV. If we fumble on air, that's a problem. IBM Watson helps us wrap our heads around all that data and quickly find relevant insights using AI, so we can give every fan the best show possible. Welcome, everybody, to Fox Kickoff.
Fox. IBM Fox NFL Kickoff is sponsored by IBM. Let's put smart to work.
Never regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many.
I'm like a fine wine. I only get better with age.
I may be long in tooth, but I can still bite.
As Lincoln said, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years.
Give me experience over youth any day.
Sure, you might not be able to do everything you used to do.
But what you can do.
You've done more than most. Age is just a number.
And when it comes to number 9,
Life begins at 40.
when you've done it for as long as we have,
Life is a breeze.
I can't wait to get old. It's really that great.
If wisdom comes with age, Drew Brees and Sean Payton have learned a lot in 15 years together. The pair now have the second most wins ever. And Aaron Andrews sat down with Brees this week as he and his longtime coach prepare for another playoff run.
Let's talk about you and Sean Payton. Speaking of fun, you guys look like you have a ton of it. 15 years, that relationship together, that's longer than some marriages last, let's be honest. Do you feel like it's a marriage at times?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we know each other so well,
Yeah.
right? We obviously spent a lot of time together over the last 15 years. You know, you kind of get that point where you can read each other's mind a little bit.
Plays, and then we're still playing here. Yeah, and then just maybe we can segue. Gotcha.
It's just communication, right?
Right.
You know, that's what you'd say about marriage too, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's communication.
Sure is. Besides the communication, what else has made this thing work as seamless as it has?
Respect. I want him to coach me, right? And I want him to coach me hard. And also as being a great mentor of mine for the last 15 years.
What do you want your legacy to be?
I want people to look at me and say, man, he did it the right way, and he left the game better than when he found it.
Tony, what did you say? How amazing it would be to what?
To have the same coach throughout your whole career, the same offense, the same thing, it's a luxury.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing to see the energy that Brees brings to the game just 10 days shy of his 41st birthday. Meanwhile, 42-year-old Tom Brady's season came to a surprising end yesterday. Here's a look.
The master and his pupil going head-to-head. Edelman sprints in motion to the right, takes the handoff. It's a jet sweep. He's going to get to the end zone. Touchdown, New England! Second effort, Henry. Touchdown, Titans!
That's exactly what the Titans needed.
Brady in the end zone. Fires, pass batted up in the air, intercepted, and returned for a touchdown, Titans! The Tennessee Titans have knocked out the champions.
Watson dumps it off high, walks across. The Texans take the lead. We are headed for overtime. Watson escapes, throws it to Jones. What a play! The magician does it again. And the Texans go to the divisional round in dramatic fashion.
After the big win in Foxborough yesterday, the Titans head to Baltimore for the divisional round, while the Texans will take on the Chiefs at Arrowhead next Sunday. Colin, how would you frame this Patriots loss?
Well, this is how dynasties end. Slowly, gradually. You no longer fear them. You respect them. But they're a little old. No points in the second half, 5 first downs. They remind me of the San Antonio Spurs. Great coach, Tim Duncan Brady, as they age, not quite as effective. And you have this great system. Young players sometimes fit into it, sometimes they don't. This is a great organization. Tom Brady, though, has taken all the arrows this year. Nobody's blaming Belichick for some bad drafts. I think Brady's 50-50 if he's a Patriot next year. I'll just put it out there. Indianapolis Colts. When Peyton Manning could choose at the end of his career a team, he chose one with weapons, a coach he trusted, an offensive line, indoors, knows the AFC, great young O-line, all sorts of tight ends, Frank Reich, Chris Ballard, the GM. Watch out.
I hear you there. And it does. It makes a little bit of a sense. But at the same time, I just can't see Tom Brady going to a different team. And let's not forget, I mean, they went to the Super Bowl last year. They still went 11-4. People are acting like the dynasty is over, but they barely lost last night. And you look at the offensive side of the ball, they don't have players like they used to, okay? Gronk has been gone. Gronk might come back next year. We work with him. He said he's working out 5 days a week. I can see him back in a New England Patriot uniform. They have cap space. I think it's all posturing right now from the New England Patriots, from Bill Belichick to Tom Brady. Tom is going to give them a good deal. He's always, that's his MO. He always gives them a good price to go out and get good players. I don't think we've seen the last of Tom Brady, and I also don't believe that he's going to be in a different uniform.
Raise your hand if Tom Brady stays with the Patriots next year.
I think
Schrager.
We'll see.
What do you have for us?
I'm pleading the fifth on that one. I'm just standing here like I would always. It's not just Tom Brady's future that we're looking at, though, with the Patriots. This offseason, Devin McCourty, their defensive captain, he's a free agent. Matt Slater, their special teams captain, he's a free agent. Kyle Van Noy, their best linebacker, he's a free agent. Jamie Collins and Josh McDaniels is expected to take a job somewhere else. He might take some of those coaches with him. And Nick Caserio, who is in the front offices and always been Belichick's number 2 guy, his contract is up. This could be the end of the era, and it's not just because of Tom Brady.
All right, Triggs, thank you so much. And you're never just standing there.
Yeah, remember that.
Let's turn our focus now to the teams left standing. Coach, your gut reactions to the Titans heading to Baltimore?
Well, you know, everybody talks about the NFL being a copycat league, right? Well, it's not. When you look at this game, the storyline, these are two teams that have won completely different ways. I mean, you know, obviously you have Baltimore, the flashy offense with Lamar, the run-pass option, and their defense is one of the top blitzing defenses in the NFL.
Yep.
Go to the other side. You got Tennessee, blue collar, Derrick Henry, hit you in the mouth, run the ball, play pass. And they are not a blitzing defense. So they're completely different contrasts. They find a way to win, believing in a philosophy and being committed to it. And obviously execute, and you can get the job done.
Mike, how about this next game? I mean, when you look, you got Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. How fun is this one going to be?
Oh, man, I'm so excited to watch these two guys play. And I expect it to be a shootout. You got two young guys at the top of their game on a quest for a championship. It's nothing better than that. But I think the key for the Houston Texans is getting Will Fuller back into the lineup to complement DeAndre Hopkins. Take the top off the coverage, make the game easier for Deshaun Watson.
Absolutely. All of Deshaun Watson's numbers are higher. Completion percentage, he passes over 20 yards when Will's on the field and expected to return next week. All right. Coming up, a look at what the playoffs, how they look different. Speaking of different, Rob Gronkowski, plus what a win today could mean for Kirk Cousins' legacy when kickoff returns. Do you know something about Gronk, Lido?
Yeah, he can come back.
The last time the Saints hosted a playoff game at the Superdome, things did not go their way against the Rams. They're hoping for a better result when they welcome in Minnesota today. Speaking of welcoming in, I mean, let's get you up to speed, brought to you by State Farm. And there's a reason they keep us apart, because this is only an hour show and we could do this all day long. Hello, darling.
Hello. I don't know who had a better month of December, the New Orleans Saints or my girl Carissa. Congratulations. I can
always a bridesmaid, never a bride. You know what I mean, Aaron?
Well, you are now.
Love you.
Well, I'm not wearing coral. Love you more. All right. Well, the New Orleans Saints, they love the month of December. They're peaking at the right time. And Drew Brees calling this team an ascending team. And when you look at their numbers, you can see why. They've averaged 40 points in the month of December. Drew Brees on an absolute tear, 15 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Why? Why is it all coming together? They're healthy. They're connecting. You know, when you look back at what they've gone through, and I was just talking to somebody out here on the field, they said nobody's been more hurt than us. Think about it. They lose Drew Brees week 2 in Los Angeles. Alvin Kamara goes down for a while. Jared Cook goes down. Now they're all back together in the month of November, and then away we go in the month of December. Here's also a scary thought for you, and I can't wait to hear what Colin has to say about this, because he has insight all over the place this morning. Drew Brees telling us missing those 5 games with the ligament tear in his thumb may have helped him, because he's never felt better. Guy is very, very fresh as we get set to start the playoffs here at the Superdome. All right, speaking of fresh and always looking fabulous, let's send it over to Chris Myers.
You kid, do you care? Hey, within the hour, the Vikings arrived here, the healthiest their offense has been in months. Dalvin Cook, their 1,000-yard rusher, is back. The rookie behind him, Alexander Madison, both averaging 4.5 a carry. You'll see them in that order. And Adam Thielen, who worked his way back from the hamstring, now 100% in Friday's practice, full go. In that practice, Kirk Cousins, every throw, nothing hit the ground. On defense, linebacker Eric Kendricks, named All-Pro. He's back healthy. That's important because they want to match him up against Alvin Kamara in coverage. Now, they are down, the Vikings, a couple of defensive backs that were used in their normal rotation, so that raises the question, how will they cover Michael Thomas? And the answer may lie in how they put pressure on Drew Brees. How they do it is what we'll be watching practicing more closely. That's the story here in New Orleans for now. Let's head back to Carissa in Los Angeles.
Thank you, Chris. I don't know who has better hair, Aaron or Chris. Either way, we will have more on that game ahead. But first, later today, the Eagles host the Seahawks. And though they comprise of the last two NFC teams to earn a Lombardi, the injuries they've suffered this season had many wondering if these particular birds were facing extinction.
So here we go. 4th down and goal from the 5.
Eagles can block it up right here with the touchdown.
The throw inside. Hollister makes the catch.
Wentz gives the stuff. Up the middle.
Did he break the plane?
He did. Touchdown. Standing up.
The clock is ticking down, and the 49ers are going to win at the goal line.
The Eagles have won the NFC East.
On to the Seahawks and Eagles.
They're both falling apart physically, but I get two great quarterbacks.
Carson Wentz taking a bunch of guys that were on the practice squad and making those guys special.
Russell Wilson's one of the best players in the entire NFL. Rely on him. You know this is going to be a close game.
Nothing else matters but right now.
We are built for this moment.
Bring the fire. Bring the passion.
Play with so much swagger today that everyone in the stadium could feel.
With the latest on the Eagles and who Carson Wentz will or won't have in the huddle, and for more on Seattle, let's bring back Peter Schrager. What you got, buddy?
Carissa, so many injuries with the Eagles, and yet they keep on winning in the month of December. Let's go through two guys who will be there. Zach Ertz is going to play today, and so will Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, who left the game with an injury on Sunday. One note, though, what they're getting from these guys who are on the practice squad to start the year is unprecedented. Quickly, Greg Ward, he was a quarterback at the University of Houston. He was playing for the San Antonio Commanders of the AAF in February, and now is the #1 target in the Eagles offense. And Boston Scott, the running back, he was with the Saints last year, he was with the Eagles practice squad this year, and in week 17, the biggest game of their season, he not only had 3 touchdowns, he was the NFC's Offensive Player of the Week. Incredible production from practice squad guys, and they both will play a huge role today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shregs. Who do you like today, Colin?
I like Philadelphia. Listen, this whole thing about Carson Wentz has never started a playoff game. The last 3 weeks have felt like playoff games. They've been like, elimination games for Philadelphia. The other thing to keep your eye on, Seattle's defense has not had a takeaway in its last 2 games, and in their last 5, they've only had 5 sacks. So Pete Carroll's brilliant. And we all respect Pete for what he can do to manipulate a defense. But I don't think they're playing their best defense of the year. And I think it's an overtime field game. Home field makes a difference. Carson makes a play. Eagles D-line's the difference. I'll take Philly.
And, Mike, you've said that the Eagles need to simplify their offense. How do they do that today?
I think continue to do what they've been doing over the last 4 games. And I think the most interesting stat and to describe what they've been doing is that over the last 4 games, 73% of Carson Wentz's passes have been to running backs and tight ends. So they've kept everything in front of him at 10 yards or less, allow him to just be himself. And it's a formula, like I said before, and I said to the rest of the world, playing this type of offense, what they did with Nick Foles, that's what won the Super Bowl for him a couple years ago. They keep doing it. And it's very good for inexperienced players. You're not asking them to do too much.
Less is more.
Yeah, I hear what you guys are saying, but I like Seattle, and I'll tell you why. Obviously Russell Wilson. We can say what we want. A playoff game is different than a regular season game. Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson, and keep in mind Seattle 7-1 on the road. One of those wins was in Philly, Week 12, and they beat them. So they've played in that Philly atmosphere. That's not going to affect anybody. They've been there, done it. And you talk about their defense. Yes, they're throwing, just what you said, Mike, they're throwing the ball underneath to the tight ends and backs. Well, now Quandre Diggs, the safety, is back, okay, a playmaker. Yeah. They got Bobby Wagner, one of the best in the NFL. They're going to be matching up on these tight ends and running backs. I give the advantage there to Seattle.
Yeah, I would like talking about Carson Wentz here, okay? Because I believe, obviously, you talked about it, Colin, where this is his first playoff game, but with him having to sit there and watch Nicky Foles and do what he did. Nicky Foles. All right, Nicky. It's Philly. And I think he's taken on that persona now. Okay, he's an elite quarterback. Yeah. I always thought he was an elite quarterback, and he's proven it down the stretch. What he's been doing lately has been ridiculous. I mean, throwing at the guys, no names. Guys like Boston Scott, by the way, the best NFL name going on right now. But he is making guys around him better. That's what elite quarterbacks do. I think he's looking forward to this game. I think Philly's looking forward to this game. I can't wait to see it. And obviously, I think Philly's going to win this.
Pressure, a lot more pressure, Tony, right?
Not really.
We talk about the injuries all the time with the Eagles. Well, Dalvin Cook is another player who's dealt with injuries this season, and he returns for the Vikings after missing the last 2 games with a shoulder injury, which brings us to insights filled by IBM Watson. According to Watson, the mere threat of a running game helps Kirk Cousins tremendously on play-action passes. He ranks top 3 in completion percentage, touchdowns, and yards per attempt this season. It'll be up to the defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, to slow down Cousins and Cook if the Saints want to march on. We'll break down how they can get that done when Fox NFL Kickoff returns.
Everything we work for, boys. Come out here, give it all.
Man, the playoffs, way different than the regular season. It's win or go home. The crowd, 10 times crazier. They're always standing up, cheering the whole game. You live for that atmosphere. You know, with some organizations, you can tell it's their first time in the playoffs. They're just happy to be there. No, that's not how it works. You're going for the ring, baby. It's a different mindset. It's a different mentality. Got to bring that mentality when it comes to playoffs if you want to keep moving on.
Let's go! Get ready to do something legendary.
Because it's so hard just to win a football game in the NFL. But then there's a playoff win, and a playoff win is even more satisfying.
Yeah!
Knowing that you're sending your opponent home, you did your job, all that hard work is paying off, it feels good. When you lose a playoff game, it just crushes you. How many months of work, years of dedication you put in is just done, just like that. The season's over. You're going home to watch the playoffs, to watch the Super Bowl. It's just a crushing feeling. With the Patriots, you know, we're just so used to being there. We're always level-headed right there, but man, the trash talking with other teams, dang, they can get serious.
I just blocked him, baby. They can't stop us.
Oh, it's not a good feeling to be on that side.
Hey, you can't win me, bro.
But let me tell you, winning a playoff game, the high that you run with after winning a championship, oh, that lasts way more than a week. I'm still riding it right now. I won my first Super Bowl about 5 years ago, and I'm running off that one still, baby.
You know, I think Gronk could have fun no matter what. He's doing beer bongs after the show.
So according to you, he's coming back next season, and he's drinking a protein shake right now.
Well, I remember, you know, actually, speaking of the playoffs, a little quick playoff story. I remember year 16 is when I won my first playoff game. We're playing against the Seattle Seahawks, and I've been searching for it my whole career. I didn't play in that many, and we're winning, and they take the lead with 31 seconds left. And we have one timeout. And anyway, long story short, we get the ball. We only have 2 plays. First play, we call timeout. Second play, they throw it to me. We kick a 53-yard field goal to win the game. And I've never cried after a win. But after this playoff win, because of the emotion of searching for it so long, I would just like tears, hugging everybody. That is how the playoffs are, and that's what it means. That's why we all love it.
I love that. Well, it took you 16 years, Mike. I know that you had success right away, but then you kind of chased that dragon for a long time afterwards.
Yeah, I got spoiled early, was a little naive, thinking that the postseason will always come back year after year, beat Green Bay early in my second year, and then came back and won an NFC lost an NFC championship game, and thought I would always get back. Then come back around until 2010. It just don't work that way.
Yeah, well, let's check in with the guys next door who know a lot collectively about the postseason. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello. Hey. We've got plenty of football to talk about, but before we do that, let us join the parade and wish you a hearty congratulations on your engagement there, Marissa.
Thank you. That's so nice. I think everyone's just surprised this actually happened.
We're excited for you. Also, a couple of big birthday wishes Jimmy wants to throw out. Howie's got a birthday tomorrow, and Colin Cowherd.
And my birthday, too.
Colin, happy birthday, Colin.
Happy birthday to all three of you.
My birthday's in July.
Mine too. How about that? We can celebrate.
It always comes back to Jimmy.
One way or another, right? But we will actually talk football when we come back at the top of the hour. Congratulations to all.
Thank you so much,
cry. When you cry after that win, that means you have cried after it.
And Terry cried. He cried all the time when he was at Pittsburgh.
Our producer Spoon's going to cry if I don't get us to break. Coming up, we head back to New Orleans where the Saints are 6-1 in the postseason since Drew Brees and Sean Payton came to town. A look at their chances of making it 7 when we return. Well, welcome back. Time for Keeping It Crisp, brought to you by Bud Light. Coach, Stephon Diggs has gone over 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. What kind of day do you expect from him?
Well, it has to be a big day. I mean, I say that because when you get into the playoffs, you get the ball to your playmakers, the ball to the guys that got you there. With the injuries actually to Dalvin Cook and Thielen earlier in the year, he's kind of become the go-to guy and the emotional leader of that offense.
Well, it's been an up-and-down season, Coach, for Minnesota, one that saw that locker room nearly implode early on before a dominant midseason stretch brought them back. I sat down with Coach Mike Zimmer in Minneapolis this week to find out how he keeps this team focused even when doubt seems to surround them.
With the wild card weekend matchups now set, Drew Brees and the Saints preparing for a Minneapolis Miracle rematch with the Vikings.
This is the fun part.
Yep.
Right?
Playoffs.
The playoffs. Here we go.
Here we go.
Season starts all over again.
Yep.
Is that how you approach this team?
Yeah, pretty much. The biggest thing for us is understanding the finality of the playoffs. If you make mistakes, they're all larger than in the regular season, and so we have to go out and we have to play well.
Your team's healthy at the right time. You get Dalvin Cook back, Adam Thielen. What does that do for your team?
You know, Dalvin's a great player. He's a great competitor. He's looked great in practice this week.
Dalvin is nice, bro.
Really, Adam's the same way. He doesn't care who's covering him. He thinks he's open every play.
He's going for Thielen. Touchdown!
The Saints are for real. Brees, he looks energized, accurate as ever.
I know it's a question you get all the time. How do you stop Drew Brees?
Drew's an unbelievable quarterback. We're going to have to try to keep them off balance. We're going to have to try to take advantage of some things that we see. You know, and they've got a lot of weapons. But I like our heart. We lost a couple games early, but then we won 5 in a row.
Do you think what you guys went through earlier on in the season is why you guys are here today?
You know, through the course of the season, there's so many ups and downs. If we do the things that we're capable of doing, then we'll be a good team. You know, we've worked really hard to get to the new season. You know, we're hoping that it's a 4-game season.
Collins, today a must-win for Kirk Cousins?
I don't think it is. I think he's a very talented transition piece. I think they'll draft a quarterback. Minnesota's got the advantage. Their roster is so good. They don't have any really desperate needs. You know, Kirk is clearly capable of winning a division or getting you there, but I think they're looking ahead. You know, his contract's not that expensive if you look at what's happened over the last a couple years since he signed it. There's guys in the mid-30s, high 30s. But I think they're going to, he'll come back next year. They'll be very good. I think this draft got 4 or 5 quarterbacks. They may take one, first or second pick. And I've never really seen him after that first year. I saw a stat here today. He is 6-30 in his career versus teams that finished the season with a winning record. It's hard to unsee that stat, right?
Go ahead, Tony.
Is that accurate?
Pump him up, pump him up, Tony. Pump him up.
It's tough. You guys know how I feel about old Captain Kirk. I love him, but I do believe this is a career-defining game. He's had a couple up, but I think this is it, though. This is the one. And,
Playoffs.
And not saying he win or lose, I think he has to play well. Even if they lose, he has to play well. Otherwise, then he gets in that position where they're looking at him and saying, okay, he's just going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick, where he's a good guy, come in, heat up a little bit, have a long career. But I don't know if he'll ever be a franchise quarterback if he goes out there and plays poorly today. But we know he's got Dalvin Cook back. And Dalvin Cook is the hootie to the blowfish to this team.
What?
He is the guy, his lead singer. And if he plays well, they can go off and it opens everything up for old Captain Kirk.
I love a mid-90s reference.
Who doesn't like Hootie and the Blowfish?
Well, everyone does.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Was that the Viking mascot? What was that?
Let's put Kurt aside for a second. What's the real DNA of this Minnesota offense? From the very beginning, it's been Dalvin Cook, right?
Right.
I mean, he's the engine. He's the guy that makes it go. And most offensive coordinators, okay, it's scary because a running back runs up in there, gets hit for 2 yards, and they want to abandon the running game. It's not today. I'm telling you now, today's not about how many yards Dalvin gets. It's about how many carries he gets, because they must be balanced. For Kirk Cousins to do what he does best, play action pass, roll out, they have to put stress on the defense that, hey, they might run it, they might throw it. If you lose that, Kirk cannot be as effective.
You're right, Coach. Dalvin Cook is certainly a big part of this offense, but when you look at Adam Thielen, his situation, it hasn't been the best. This year with him being injured. You got him and Stephon Diggs, who needs to be a big part of this offense today. And they've been taking away for the last couple weeks because of the double coverage that they're seeing. Don't know who's going to get the double, don't know who's going to get the single. It can affect the offense. So for them to be a big part of this offense today, I think you have to get the ball to them early. Don't lose them to frustration. They are definitely the focal points of this offense.
Well, it's the first time since Thielen and Cook have been on the field together since week 6.
Wow.
Speaking of on the field, Cooper Manning's on the field in New Orleans, and we couldn't be happier to have him. Hey, Coop.
Hey, well, Carissa, you may not know this, but I am best friends with pretty much the entire Saints roster, except for Thomas Morstead. Thomas, you know what you did, but I've hung with all the stars. What you may not know is I'm pretty tight with the Minnesota Vikings as well. Maybe they're my second best friend. Spence has the tape to prove it. Roll it, Spence.
Cam, my man. How you doing, brother? Doing great. Appreciate you, man. What's that? Hey, make sure not to scratch it. Did you think I was going to be this handsome?
Drew, a lot of people remember you maybe as a Super Bowl hero, but I think not. I think they'll remember you as the first guest on the Manning Hour. I hope they would remember me for a lot more. They will not.
Drew did this twice?
I know, it's hard to believe.
Yeah, he's the GOAT.
Nah, I'm pretty sure he's human.
No, I mean like GOAT, greatest of all time.
Oh, I thought the one Cam and I did was much better. Our dads played together with the Vikings. Big Arch said when he played with your dad, they called him Ivy because he went to Brown. You know, I had a girlfriend named Ivy one time.
Oh, yeah? What was she like?
A lot like Manti Te'o's ex.
It was a Minnesota miracle. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
If you could rename the Minnesota Miracle, I'm not that creative. Well, I am, my friend. How about Nightmare in New Orleans? Wow. When people ask you what position you play, what do you say to? I say quarterback. Really? See, if you were a little more humble like me, you would say third-string quarterback. So you got into cooking because of your last name, and I got this TV show because of my last name. Drew told me not to trust you. He told me you hurt my feelings and my septum.
Well done.
It's pretty clear both teams love me, but I think the season ends kind of like your season end, Carissa. Saints, big, shiny, new ring. Saints win big today, 21-10.
Look at that.
See, this is why he's the professional. Coop, we love you, and we will see you at the Super Bowl. Thank you.
Can't wait.
Coming up, the Saints offense has been the league's best over the last month. When kickoff returns, Jared Cook and Alvin Kamara tell us what's got them peaking at just the right time.
The Saints took them 43 years to get here.
It's time to finish strong and hold up this trophy for our city.
It's an onside kick. The Saints came away with it. Breeze sets up the screen. Thomas makes the move. He's going to score. Here's the throw to Jackie, and it's a touchdown.
This is where the legend begins. It's picked off. It's picked off. He's going to go all the way.
Get ready to party with the Lombardi, New Orleans.
Hard to believe it's been 10 years since Breeze hoisted the Lombardi. In fact, he and punter Thomas Morstead are all that remained from that Super Bowl squad. Back in 2010, Jared Cook was a rookie and hadn't made a start for the Titans. Alvin Kamara, he was just 14 years old. But now both are grown up and part of a New Orleans offense that see Breeze as the Sandman in their own championship dream.
The Saints are rolling.
Touchdown, Jared Cook.
He's been a difference maker for this Saints offense.
Alvin Kamara. And that's the explosive play out of AJ.
Jared, you ready?
Oh, let's get it.
You ready to do this?
Yeah, let's get it. I'm ready. Being in the offense with Drew Brees and being a weapon is huge. Consistency, explosion.
It's very rare that you find a quarterback that's as talented as him, and it's even more rare that you get to play with a quarterback like that.
He's always going to find ways to get you the ball and try to get you in good position to make plays and, change the game.
Going deep again. Cook's open again.
Jared Cook showing that athletic ability.
Yes, sir.
There's not a lot of tight ends in the NFL that can run routes. Being able to help him open up the offense even more, and him being able to find me down the field, is nothing like it.
I think the definition of a pro
what he brings to the game with his preparation and his execution, everything. Definitely one of the greatest of all time.
Congratulations to Michael Thomas.
A new National Football League record.
The Saints have one of the best duos in the National Football League. The connection with Mike and Drew is pretty immaculate. To set multiple NFL records like they have and to continuously do that even though defenses know what they're running, I think that's pretty incredible.
Drew Brees to Mike Thomas on the slant that no one seems to be able to cover in this league.
Is there such thing as too much swag? Yes, there is, but I think Mike has just the right amount.
Brees
Going for Thomas, he's got it.
he looks unstoppable.
What you see out there on the field is their rapport.
I think their brains are kind of connected. They draw a lot of attention. So for me, when my number's called, it just makes it easier.
Alvin Kamara for the touchdown.
You see the vision, you see the explosion. AK speed, his run style. Me and him, I feel like work well together. I'm the type of person that's never satisfied. That's the most imperative thing about the playoffs. I feel like there's always work to prove and things to get better on.
We focus on us and we're ready. We're moving in the right direction, playoffs starting. It's time for it.
Just watching that Kamara, Cook, Thomas. Is there anything, Tony, this offense can't do?
They can't. They're becoming unstoppable because of Drew Brees. He's the guy who's pulling on the trigger. But you look at these three guys, when they're all on the field together, Michael Thomas, Jared Cook, and Alvin Kamara, they're averaging 7 yards. 7 yards when these three are on the field. That leads the NFL. That means that you are moving the chains. And the reason why is because when they get on the field, it just creates a matchup that defenses can't handle. Let's look at this. You got Kamara in the backfield, and you got Michael Thomas and Jared Cook in the slots right here, and single safety high. This is one thing that you're going to see Drew Brees look off the safety and take the matchup that he thinks is going to be best, and a perfect throw and great catch by Jared Cook. Then once again right here, you get the misdirection. You got Cook going across and Michael Thomas going across. And let's go back the other way to Alvin Kamara. Get the defense off balance. And then right here you see it again. You're going to see Jared Cook lying in the slot. Michael Thomas put them both on the same side of the ball. Have them come a direction, kind of a drive, and then sneak Kamara out the backside. What does the defense do to get these guys open? I think, and Michael Thomas got the ball there, I think this is kind of very similar to, I remember when I was with Julio Jones, Roddy White, and myself, it became almost unstoppable. Yeah. You line two of us to one side of the field and one guy on the other side. You can't double team us all. It's just, it's
a quarterback's dream.
Quarterback's dream.
Now, it's your nightmare as a defensive coordinator, but it's also your job to stop them. So how do you?
Well, the obvious, someone would say, oh, we'll just double cover Michael Thomas. Well, that sounds good at a coach's clinic, okay? But the reality, but seriously, the reality, and Chris Myers alluded to it earlier, they've got two of their backup defensive backs out, Hughes and Alexander, so now they're down on numbers. Then they don't have a shutdown corner. When you look at this defense all year, Minnesota, they have not, 2 weeks ago against Green Bay, it's Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. They haven't really shut down the top receiver all year long here. We're looking at the receivers they face, the top guys, and the results. So they're going to have to try to find a way to double cover him. As you said, Tony, Drew Brees has seen it all. They're not going to trick him in 1 week with a new coverage. He's going to get the ball to Camaro if Michael Thomas is double covered, and Cook, and those guys could have big days.
And I love the emergence of Alvin Kamara as the season has progressed, because it was a rough patch during the season when he wasn't as productive. And over the last 2 games, he's had 4 touchdowns. And Sean Payton is genius for getting him involved in the game plan. And with a guy like Kamara, you can use him as a decoy. You can use him as a focal point in the offense. Take your pick. Regardless of how you do it, whether early in the game, late in the game, he's going to be a factor with them.
I really feel like we have 4 teams that are clearly better. Kansas City, Baltimore in the AFC, New Orleans, San Francisco in the NFC. I've got great, not good, great coaches. I've got all the defenses are now mostly healthy and playing really good football. I've got Hall of Fame quarterbacks, or Jimmy Garoppolo, who I think is really special. I think there's just a separation right now. We've got 2 powerhouse teams in both conferences.
Did you mention Green Bay? Did you mention Green Bay?
I don't buy him.
No?
I don't.
He hasn't mentioned Green Bay all year.
Matt LaFleur.
We will
trust him. Big game, I don't know.
We will find out. Meanwhile, Peter Schrager has more on this game.
And yeah, the Vikings have been listening to this talk all week long. I can tell you the NFL put out a video showing all the different playoff teams and didn't include the Vikings. And I can tell you Mike Zimmer and the Minnesota team, they use that as motivation, saying no one's giving us a shot. Remember, Mike Zimmer was with Sean Payton on Bill Parcells' staff in Dallas. And oh yeah, Mike Zimmer beat Sean Payton in a playoff game. You guys might remember on this very network 2 years ago. There's a lot of quiet confidence in that Minnesota locker room, and they're playing that nobody believes in us card like they never have before.
There's more on that, actually. Next hour, when I sat down with Mike Zimmer, he said the exact same thing, Shregs. After falling to that miracle at the hands of Stephon Diggs 2 years ago, New Orleans can finally get the playoff juju back in their favor. Our picks for this game next when kickoff returns. No. Just because the regular season is over doesn't mean the fun has to end. $25,000 of Terry's money is on the line today, so download the app if you haven't already and play along. So we're going to divvy up a few of today's picks. We're going to start with Schrager and Colin, and I'm going to ask you who will rush or score the first touchdown of the game for the Vikings.
One of my favorite young players in the league is also back in the lineup, and he hasn't played in a couple games. Alexander Madison. He looks like Marshawn Lynch in a Vikings jersey. I think the backup running back gets the first score for the Vikings.
I'll go with Dalvin Cook, 13 touchdowns, 14 weeks that he played, and they're going to try to control the clock. A lot of Dalvin Cook today, 25-plus carries.
All right, same question, but for the Saints, who rushes or scores the first touchdown for them?
As I said earlier, Minnesota hasn't proven they can take Michael Thomas out of the game, but I think they're going to try. That will leave Alvin Kamara one-on-one. He catches a quick pass. He scores the first touchdown.
I got to say Michael Thomas been matched up on Xavier Rhodes. Xavier hasn't played his best football. Mike T get in the end zone early.
All right, Tony, you and I got who wins and by how much. So I'm going to go Saints by 10.
That's good. Good analysis. I'm going to take the Saints by 7 because Drew Brees is a master. He's an absolute
Awesome analysis.
He's going to go out there. He's going to have Saints at home. No way you're going to go into that dome and beat them. They are going to.
No one thinks the Vikings win this thing.
No. You don't think Kirk will pull this off?
I don't think
Well, we play the game and we will find out. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the NFC wild card. Ford Fox NFL Sunday starts right. No one cares about my ring anymore, but I appreciate it. Kyle, you're the best.
It's what brings us together. Marriage.
Forever and ever.
It's a great institution.
All right. For this wild card thing, miss me with the odds. Skip the seedings and spare me the narrative of collective suffering. Okay, so I guess there might be a little bit of baggage here. But get over it. Stop being soft. So what, you were embarrassed?
Are you kidding me? Just totally whiffed on the tackle.
Yo, but for real, what was he thinking? No one cares you went from favorite to forgotten. Y'all both know what it's like to get dumped.
Thing let me like the count, mama. I'm so hard for hell now.
And we've all been hurt before, baby. Today is about moving on, learning to love yourself again. From Fargo to the French Quarters, Dixieland and War Chance, Thor and Louis Armstrong. Who that? Or don't you know? You will only ever be damaged goods until you do. So, to all the QBs with boyish good looks and cities who love their football, let me see y'all smile one time and try to enjoy this thing while it lasts. Vikings versus Saints is next. Only on Fox.
Mama, I'm so
Get that out of my face.
Yes, around.
In 60 minutes, Kirk Cousins plays what will without question be the most important game of his career. After losing the NFC Championship game 2 years ago, the Vikings went out and gave Cousins the biggest guaranteed contract in league history to get them to a Super Bowl. So now the pressure's really on him as he makes his first postseason start in purple and gold on the road, trying to go toe-to-toe with the highest scoring team in the league over the last month. Not only did the Saints average 40 points a game in December, but Drew Brees added to his legendary numbers with 15 touchdowns and 0 interceptions during that stretch. So while it's not exactly David versus Goliath, in this Kirk versus Drew matchup, the Vikings might just need a miracle to get by, which is exactly what they got the last time these two teams met in the playoffs. A week shy of the second anniversary of the Minnesota Miracle, we'll see how well that Minnesota Magic travels as the Vikings head to one of the loudest stadiums in all of sports to take on the New Orleans Saints in playoff action. And we get you ready for Sunday of playoff football by rolling the one and only Built Ford Tough Fox NFL Sunday pregame show, brought to you by the Ford F-Series, the official truck of the National Football League. Come on in and stay a while, folks. I'm Kurt Menefee. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to actress and comedian Tiffany Haddish. Her new movie, Like a Boss, opens this Friday, January 10th. It is playoff time and a good time to say Happy New Year to the boys. Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy, and an early happy birthday. Howie's got a big one tomorrow.
Yeah, happy birthday, Howie.
Happy birthday.
And,
Happy birthday, Howie.
Happy birthday, and Happy New Year to everybody. And I'm watching TV, right? My dog, Enzo, always complains that I'm on TV all the time. So there's this show I saw that Kurt has that my dog can be on TV now.
On another network Wednesday night season premiere.
You got a dog show?
It's a dog show. It's a dog competition show.
Oh, yeah.
It's really good. Wednesday night, you make sure you join it.
Let's get our dogs together, TB. Train them.
I got 9 of them, you know.
You get Enzo on next season, maybe. We'll find out. All right. Well, it is the dog days of the NFL playoffs already because even though we're just getting started on the NFC side, it was an exciting start to the AFC playoffs yesterday.
To Miami, and Super Bowl 54 starts today. He's going to throw it, looking for Allen, who's wide open on the near side. He dives to the end zone. Touchdown, Bills!
The Texans rallied from their first half deficit with 19 unanswered points just before the Bills kicked a field goal and forced it into overtime.
Snap is down, kick is up, and it's good! The Texans go to the divisional round.
They'll face the Chiefs. And in the other AFC contest, the Titans fired first and allowed only 1 touchdown by the Patriots. Derrick Henry helped carry the team with a franchise playoff record, 182 yards, but it was the defense who shocked New England.
Intercepted, touchdown, Titans! The Tennessee Titans have defeated the Patriots.
While the Patriots' reign is over, the Titans move on to face the Ravens. All right, more big picture from the Titans and Patriots in just a second. But, Michael, a little love for Houston, who came back and won in overtime to stay alive.
Yeah, that's the biggest margin they've ever come back under Coach Bill O'Brien. And Deshaun Watson, the man, and he had a quote yesterday that was really interesting. He said, I just had to make a play. Said, someone has to be great. Why not me? He showed why he's a great player, and he carried that team yesterday. Congratulations to the Houston Texans, my hometown. See how far they can go, but great job by Deshaun Watson. See why he's a star.
Yeah. Well, the 2 AFC South teams survive as Tennessee goes in and beats New England. I'm just going to throw it out there. The Patriots dynasty, is it done?
No, it's not done. No. They need some more weapons offensively, and they'll pick them up in the offseason. They'll get Brady re-signed. They will be fine, but they need some more offensive weapons.
No, you know, we talk about Brady, and people say he's fallen off a cliff. I think there was an injury week 11, week 12 to the elbow. And right now teams are saying they don't have a true number 1. Do you stop 11? Do you stop 28, meaning Edelman and White? And that's it. The offensive line was in disrepair this year, and they lose Devlin, their fullback, and they lose Gronk. There goes the run game. There goes the play-action pass game.
Do you think the NFL, the other remaining 31 teams care?
No.
They are struggling. No. They're like, hey, welcome to our world now. What's it like, Tom, not to have all these weapons? Well, so on and so forth. I do not think there's any way that he's through, just listening to him at all. I think the dynasty is over.
I'm with you. I think the dynasty is over because I think as much as we talk about what the Patriots lost, every team lost people. Every team has injuries, but teams don't go and they don't fear the Patriots like they used to. You don't go to Foxborough and feel like, oh my goodness, we're not going to win this game. They lost 3 out of their last 4 at home. I think the dynasty is over. Tom Brady is not.
I'm doing what the NFL is doing. I'm laughing right now because they're like, listen to you guys all saying, oh, but if they just get some weapons for Ford.
For everybody,
oh my
right?
God, 6 man.
Everybody's getting better.
You guys, no, they will be fine.
Even with Brady 43 next year. First of all, you think he's going to be back in New England?
Yes, he'll be back in New England.
Yeah, it's the only place for him to be.
Yes,
I hope so.
We'll find out. Jay Glazer joins us right now. And you know what, Jay? We heard Brady himself say after the game, retiring is quote-unquote pretty unlikely. What is his future, however?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, does he go back to the New England Patriots? He's an unrestricted free agent, and the Patriots cannot franchise him. I'm told if he does go back to the Patriots, he doesn't want to do the same hometown discount that he's done in the past. So then you also look at other options out there. Certainly a team that will help him with their fan base, but there's been talks about him going somewhere with Josh McDaniels. There's only 4 openings. There's only 1 without a quarterback. That's the Carolina Panthers. So I just don't see that happening. I think he fits better in, obviously, with the Patriots, but then it comes down to money.
Hey, you know what? We're going to talk about the coaching carousel in just a bit. But everybody's wondering what the heck is going on down there in Dallas with Jason Garrett.
Never seen anything like it, because Jason Garrett, they've gone to him now a couple times this week to say, okay, you're out as our head coach. And he says, hold on, don't do it yet. I still want to be considered for this. And every time they do it, so they said, we're moving on. We're starting to interview other people. Friday night, they interviewed Marvin Lewis. They had first wanted just defensive head coaches. Yesterday, they interviewed Mike McCarthy. That went so well, I'm told Mike McCarthy is actually still there, spent an extra day in Dallas. Then they're looking at Mike Zimmer if he was out after this game in Minnesota. But again, they still have to tell Jason Garrett, no, you're gone. We're moving on. Never seen anything like it.
No, this has been the strangest thing.
It's not like breaking up with somebody and they're like, no, you're not breaking up with me.
Well, maybe they'll do it by text. Isn't that how they do it these days? Thanks a lot, Jay. We'll have more from you in just a bit. Alvin Kamara could play a part in that. Jay mentioned Mike Zimmer, a possibility. Well, Kamara and the Saints, if they win today, will hope that become maybe closer to reality. That game coming your way in just a bit as we continue here on this Wild Card Edition.
Coming up, ahead of their big matchup against Philly, Seattle's newest member, Jadeveon Clowney, sits down with Christina Pink. From one pass rusher to another, we look at the life of John Randall, from a rough upbringing to becoming a Hall of Famer. Speaking of all-time greats, Drew Brees shares with Aaron Andrews how through a year of record-breaking stats, his focus has always been the same, another Super Bowl. Plus, Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer tells Carissa Thompson what it'll take to stop the Saints' high-flying offense. All that and more ahead on the Ford Fox NFL Sunday pregame show. It's time to cast your vote and help select the fan who will be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2020. Vote now for your favorite nominee at FordHallOfFans.com/football. Plus, enter for your chance to win a trip to Super Bowl 54. The Built Ford Tough Fox NFL Sunday pregame show is sponsored by Ford F-Series, the official truck of the NFL.
Fourth down. Here's your game. Here's Russell Wilson back. The throw inside. Hollister makes the catch. Hollister's hit on the goal line. Did he break the plane? He is short. The 49ers are going to win the game. They have won the NFC West for the first time since 2012.
What an ending to that game Sunday. That little blade of fake grass is why we love football so much, because it was the difference between the NFC West title and top seed in the conference for both these teams. It just made the decision rather easy. That is, if you're on the San Francisco side. So instead of being at home this week, the Seattle Seahawks are now on the road to play a playoff game later today in Philadelphia, which is where our Christina Pink is standing by. And Christina, don't be surprised if both the Eagles and Seahawks ask you to suit up, because both these squads are banged up coming into this.
Well, Kurt, you know what? I'm ready. I can take it. This is really the battle of the walking wounded, Jadeveon Clowney included, because he did not play in the first-round battle between these two teams back in November, dealing with the core injury, still not 100%, and quite frankly, should have shut it down weeks ago and had surgery, but that was never going to happen for a guy on a new team playing on a big stage who still has something to prove.
City, man. It's go time. We back.
Jadeveon, take us inside your head right now, because you're back in the playoffs, but in a different uniform. Given the way things ended for you in Houston, has it played out the way you wanted?
Yeah, it has been everything I can ask for. I was disappointed about being traded. Left a group of guys that I came in with my rookie year, and I was very attached to, who was always together 24/7. But when I got here, I met another group of guys who just as fun. Coach Carroll, probably one of the best coaches I ever had. They took me in and accepted me, and and made me part of the team. And I loved every minute of it.
Feeling blessed, never stressed. So your playoff resume isn't that long.
I know, right?
What have you learned from those experiences you think you can apply to this game?
I just know it's the intensity steps up another notch in the playoffs. So I know I got to take that next step in myself, and just being prepared and just going out there and being physical for 4 quarters is going to be enough to get the win.
You guys have been really good on the road this season, 7-1. So this is a road game, but that's probably a good thing for you.
For sure.
Why have you been so good playing in these hostile environments?
Oh man, I think we take pride in that. When you walk in somebody else's backyard and you know the energy is everybody gets you besides the people you came with. I told the players, I don't know why y'all mad about playing on the road. We doing good anyway. It's just the flights. That's the only thing everybody complain about, the long flights. But I'm looking forward to it.
You smile every time you say playoffs.
Yeah,
Are you ready for this?
I'm just excited. I'm excited about it. I think we got a great opportunity in front of us.
Oh, yeah, and he should be excited playing in just his 4th career playoff game. I don't think the Eagles are as excited to see him on the field, though. Doug Peterson during the week saying that Clowney can wreck a game, praising his athleticism and that quickness off the ball. And I can tell you from sitting down with Clowney this week, Howie, injury or not, he plans to bring his Sunday best today.
Well, a great piece on him. He's a really intriguing player, and there's a reason why Houston moved on from that kind of talent. You typically don't move away from that kind of a talent. He gets to Seattle. We saw the first San Francisco game. Few players in our league could take a game over, that game over. Unfortunately for Seattle, and unfortunately for him, I think, down the road here contractually, he hasn't been able to get on the field. And that's a big issue with Seattle. I think moving forward, you can't franchise him. What do you sign him for? But right in the immediate future, he's got to help them win a playoff game on the road in Philadelphia. And he can do that. If he's dominant, he takes the game over.
Howie, Clowney, he mentioned Pete Carroll as one of the top coaches in the league, one of the top coaches that he's ever had. Also, Ken Norton, his defensive coordinator. And they are so good. I think if they face a team that's limited offensively, and that's what Philadelphia is, you know, with their receivers all out, everything they've been doing is screen pass or all underneath to the tight end.
Everything's abbreviated.
Yeah, and so with Bobby Wagner at linebacker, I think that they can take away some of those screen passes and the underneath routes, you know, to Ertz and to Goddard. And so, you know, they'll have a plan for them. It'll be tough for Philadelphia to move the ball the way they have the last 3 or 4 weeks.
In Seattle, offensively, I mean, they left tackles out back up there. Last time they played the Eagles, Week 12, Russell Wilson was sacked 6 times, which is hard to do because we all saw against the 49ers, who have the best line in football. He knows how to find the crease to still be able to throw the ball, get it downfield. He makes throws that no other quarterback, it seems, can make, where his guy catches it, and you wonder if he really meant to do it or if it was just luck. He is a very special player. How much did they get out of Marshawn Lynch in Week 2? We'll see. But can Metcalf and Lockett take advantage of the struggling cornerback with the Eagles? That's going to be the key.
That win to play, it's going to play havoc today on the passers. But if you look, one thing, Philadelphia impresses me not from their artistry. That's the word. From that. The thing that they do is it reminds me of the old John Wayne movie in which he won an Oscar for True Grit. That's what they have. They have grit, determination, and probably the big word is pride.
It's a bigger word?
It's a little word, P-R-I-D-E, pride. And you cannot go back to Week 12. Stop laughing. You can't go back to Week 12 and look at 4 turnovers for Wentz and say, well, he's going to do that again. He's not. This football team has survived Dallas at home, won. Went on the road to New York, won. High-pressure games, and they won it, and they win it ugly with their backs out of the backfield and tons of screens, and they'll do it again
I was going to try to buy a vowel at one point. I'll take it over.
I was trying to say
we will get these guys to predict the outcome of that game a little bit later. When we continue with this show, we will continue to talk about the Saints and Vikings. Carissa Thompson sits down with Minnesota head coach Mike Zimmer, while Aaron Andrews finds out why Drew Brees gets better with age as he goes on another Super Bowl run.
This is the fun part, right? This is what you work so hard for, is to have an opportunity to continue to advance forward here in the playoffs and make a run at it.
For the past 2 years, business has been booming from Minnesota Miracle merchandise. However, since the Vikings trademarked that phrase, I've had to get a little more creative, don't you know?
I'll take this Minnesota Miracle shirt.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but trademark law prevents me from selling Minnesota Miracle shirts. That is a Minnesota had a play that was a miracle shirt. Totally different.
How much for a signed photo of the Minnesota Miracle?
Oh, you mean the signed photo of the Twin City two-step?
Okay, sure.
Excuse me, I represent the Minnesota Vikings, and we have received word that you may be selling illegal Minnesota Miracle shirts.
Oh, you mean these Minnesota Miracle shirts?
Ah, for cute. Those look fine. I'll show myself out.
Take a shirt.
As they say in Minnesota, you betcha. All right. I guess technically you could call John Randall's life story a Minnesota miracle. The Vikings legend came from extreme poverty, was undersized and undrafted, but his trash-talking and face-painting style left a lasting mark on the 100-year history of the NFL.
If fulfilling a lifelong dream came down to a single moment, would you leave it to chance? A kid who came from nothing, raised in poverty, overlooked by every major university. But despite impossible odds, John Randall persevered. He scratched and clawed his way to the NFL's doorstep. The only problem was no team was willing to answer the knock. You see, no one believed that a 6'0", 240-pound defensive lineman could amount to anything. John was simply undersized and overmatched. In the 1990 draft, 331 names were called. John Randall wasn't one of them. And after failed tryouts with the Falcons and the Bucs, the kid's dream rested in the hands of the Minnesota Vikings, a team willing to give the long shot an opportunity under one condition. He entered camp weighing 250 pounds. So when the time came to step on the scale, the man who fought his entire life to be here wasn't going to leave his future to chance. .251 on the dot.
Okay, kid. We'll give you a shot.
With a little help from the local hardware store, Randall earned the only opportunity he'd ever need. His glaring weakness became his greatest weapon. With speed and agility, he ran through the league with sheer dominance. And trust me, he wasn't going to let you forget it.
Regulators!
Time for the big dog to eat. Here's a man who was able to accomplish everything because he never lost sight of the kid from nothing.
Our thanks to Josh Duhamel, North Dakota guy who's a huge Vikings fan. I know you're actually a fan of John Randall and the way he played.
Well, Michael and I always talk about great players, and John certainly fits that bill as one of the most dominant defensive tackles ever to play. But you talk about guys that talk a lot. Usually it's the cornerbacks, the safeties, the wide receivers, the running backs. John was a defensive tackle who never stopped. Whistle to snap and between, he was constantly talking. Someone like John would never occur in today's game. To be undrafted out of college and to end up being one of the top 100 players in NFL history is pretty remarkable. John's a good man, too.
He is. He's a fun guy to be around because of all that talking. Hey, speaking of fun guys, let's get it over to Jay Glazer, who's got an update on the latest with the coaching carousel.
I'm talking about guys who talk a lot. I'm about to take a deep breath and take you through the coaching carousel. So here we go. Dallas Cowboys, I told you, Mike McCarthy, he's still there interviewing with them. Carolina Panthers, Mike met with them last week, but Matt Rule, he's first up to meet with Carolina. Then he's going to go to the New York Giants on Tuesday. That's who the Giants want. And the Giants interviewed yesterday Wink Martindale and Eric Bieniemy. Josh McDaniels also hoping to interview for all these teams later on for the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns also interviewed Greg Roman, Robert Saleh, and Kevin Stefanski. And by the way, the head coach decides who the GM is. The GM list is about 10 names long. Kurt?
Always different in Cleveland. Yep. Thanks, Jay. Hey, look who's back in the lineup for Minnesota. Pro Bowl running back Dalvin Cook says he's at full strength after missing the last 2 games of the regular season with a banged-up shoulder. As for the Saints rushing attack, Alvin Kamara has been shouldering the load, and he's heating up at the right time. 4 TDs in the last 2 games to close out the regular season. Now, the last time these 2 teams met in the playoffs, Stephon Diggs caught the most famous pass in Vikings history, with then Saints rookie Marcus Williams getting most of the blame. But Sean Payton and the staff stuck by him, and this season, Williams led the team with 4 interceptions. Hey, make no mistake, it's still a big game for him. And for Drew Brees, whom we'll hear from in just a bit, as all roads in the NFL lead to Miami in Super Bowl 54 right here on Fox.
And now 10 seconds remain in what could be a heartbreaking loss for the Vikings and a thrilling come-from-behind win for the Saints. We'll see if Keenum can work a little magic here. Keenum steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs, sideline, touchdown, unbelievable. Vikings win it.
Well, of course, the Vikings have heard a lot about that play since then. But before we get back to football, guys, New Year's this week.
Yeah.
You have a good time?
Yeah.
Go to some parties, celebrations?
Artistry was on
Someone
display.
in the studio got engaged.
Had a big party.
Over New Year's. And she joins us right now. Congratulations, Carissa Thompson.
Thank you so much.
Carissa.
You guys are the best. I so appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Don't have the wedding during football season. That's all we have.
No, I
Okay,
won't.
okay.
But I do have something in common with the Vikings. Nobody thought I would get married, and nobody thinks the Vikings are going to win this game. I appreciate you guys very much. But you know who does think he's going to win this game? Mike Zimmer. And I sat down with him this week, and he said that being counted out is exactly where he likes being.
No one thinks we can win this game. No one. It's giving us a chance. We like it. All that matters is the 53 guys in my locker room.
I know you say that no one's giving you a chance, but of course you know there's always a chance. That's why you played the game. So why will your team be successful on Sunday?
I like our heart. I think, the Saints are a great team. Sean's a great coach, and they've got a lot of weapons. We'll go in there and we'll play really well, and I believe that with all my heart. We did win 10 games, so it's not like we're the team that no one respects.
You might not want to talk about it, but I know that the Saints want to talk about it, and the media wants to talk about it. Because there is that proverbial chip on their shoulder after what's happened to them over the last couple of years.
We have a chip on our shoulder, too. So when we go down there, we're going to have a chip on our shoulder, just the way we're going to go out and play. We're going to let it all hang loose and go get it.
Let's go right now, all day.
Obviously that was a great play in Vikings history. But, that's in the past now. We got to go down to New Orleans and play really well and beat them.
Frustration and questions for Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins stinks in big games. He has the weapons to take advantage of. He finds a way not to.
Your quarterback sometimes doesn't always get the respect that I'm sure you know he deserves. Statistically, he puts up incredible numbers, but there's always this knock that he doesn't show up in big games. How do you defend that?
He's only been with us for 2 years, so all these stuff that happened prior, we don't worry about. Kirk, once he gets over this hump of winning this particular game, a lot of the rhetoric will leave then. But we all have to help him.
I like our team. I like who we are. I like the stuff we're made of.
Really, when we win together, and when we lose together. And that's just how we'll always be.
Here we go.
Are you excited?
I'm very excited. Our team has been fighters ever since I've been here.
Play action, Kirk, straight drop.
We're probably not as good front runners as we are underdogs.
In the end zone, touchdown.
Everybody's doubting us, and everybody's doubted me my whole life, so I like it.
Why do you say that?
I was 59 or 58 before I became a head coach.
We talked about finding a way, right? No one can outfight us because you got the heart of a champion.
Let's go out and prove people wrong. That's what we do.
And this team is finally getting healthy at the right time, having Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen on the field together for the first time since week 9. That'll be a huge boost as they try to keep pace with the explosive Saints offense. Terry, what are your thoughts, my friend?
Well, I'll tell you what. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You know what? When I look at what happened week 16 with the Vikings hosting the Green Bay Packers and the domination that the defense of Green Bay had on Minnesota's offensive line with Bradbury, their rookie center, and Eflin, their guard. I called Jimmy the next day. I said, have you ever seen a defense dominate an offensive line like that? I've never seen anything like that. And the quarterback was just a mute point. 82 net yards passing. Look out, here comes Cameron Jordan, New Orleans Saints defensive end, and he will wreak havoc on this offensive line again. I don't think they got a prayer today.
Having Cook back is huge. I think their entire team centers around the success of their run game. One, it frees up those free runners at wide receiver, Diggs and Thielen, and I think it protects that offensive line. And I think the quarterback is comfortable on movement throws. He's comfortable, kind of like the guy out the Rams. He's
Jared Goff.
Yeah, he's kind of like Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Move him out if his feet are clean and you've got free runners running three in the secondary, great. And it also helps with time of possession. It keeps that offense
clean
off the field.
feet. Exactly what is clean
feet. Nobody around your feet. If there's bodies around him,
makes you nervous.
It makes him nervous.
Like clean feet.
But you know, they need the Kirk Cousins from the middle of the season, not the one from the beginning or the end of the season. And they need the defense from 2 years ago or even last year. This was the best third down defense in the league. Now they're at 19th, which is not going to help him. Xavier Rhodes has not been the shutdown corner he's been in the past. And when they played 2 years ago, it was like, put him on Michael Thomas, shut down Michael Thomas. I know Zimmer's not going to do that in this game because, as I said, Rhodes has not been the same player. But Harrison Smith and Harris in the backfield have been great. Harris has 6 picks this year. And you talked about pass rushers. Danielle Hunter for the Minnesota Vikings is another great one. Keep your eye on him for a big game.
Michael, you talk, Mike Zimmer, he says he likes being the underdog. It kind of reminds me back when we weren't real good, there in Dallas, and we were playing the eventual Super Bowl champions, Washington Redskins. And I went to the players to get ready for practice, and I looked in their eyes, and they looked at me like, we got no shot. And so I said, okay, I'm going to use a little Teddy Roosevelt here. Oh. And I said, hey guys, we're going to take a big stick and we're going to hit Washington right in the head, and then we're going to run like hell. And I said, we're going to go onside kick. We're going to go for it on 4th down. We're going to have fake punt. Yeah. We're going to do all these tricks. We got to throw them out of their rhythm, out of their comfort zone. That's what Minnesota's got to do to New Orleans. Get them out of their comfort zone.
Did you, Mike Zimmer, though? Huh? That's really not Mike Zimmer, though. Did you win the game?
Yes, we won. That's what I wanted to hear.
We won the game.
We won.
You think you would have told that story if they had won the game? But come on. Good point by you. All right, when we continue, Drew Brees with Aaron Andrews, and he is definitely ready for a little playoff football.
Wait for each other. That's it. Let's go get it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're each
Hungry you, get 10 crystals for just $6 only at Crystal. Live a little.
Hello, Fox NFL Sunday. It's Cooper Manning. You may know me as Archie's favorite son. You'll also quickly find out I'm pretty popular in New Orleans. Yes, sir. All right. The Saints have had some terrible breaks the last few years in the playoffs. I can't have it happen again. I'm taking matters into my own hands. Sort of. I know a thing or two about being cursed, and the Saints are cursed. And it may have something to do with the fact that Rob Riggle filmed 21 Jump Street here. I'm here with Madam Cinnamon, who's going to help break the Saints' playoff curse.
First, we must release all the negative energy that you have around you.
Get the inner thigh, too. Had a rough Christmas. Did Drew Brees sell his soul to voodoo magic?
Well, of course.
That's why he's playing so well when he's 61? Oh, my God, this looks like my college roommates. I'm not driving tonight.
You know that the Superdome is built on top of a cemetery.
You gotta be kidding me. Really?
Yes. This is the leaf of a fresh magnolia plant. There's 2 babies inside there.
Hope they're not mine.
You must put this inside the stadium.
I'll do it.
Let's give you this. Let's put this on it. Let the spirit of the snake heal you.
Saints are definitely gonna win this game. Because I just peed my pants. It's in your hands now, Saints. I've done my part. Let's hope the refs do their part.
And I'll take care of Stephon Diggs.
And just moments ago, our not-so-hidden Fox cameras caught Cooper. What is it? He put those on the field, those stones that he got, trying to give the Saints a little bit of help. We'll see if it works. Of course, Cooper and his entire Manning family really have strong ties to the city of New Orleans. His dad and former Saints quarterback Archie was the face of the franchise during the 1970s and is now in their Ring of Honor. And make no mistake, one day we'll see current Saints quarterback Drew Brees up there as well. And Aaron Andrews, Brees actually turns 41 in 10 days, but he still looks like he's just getting better with age, doesn't he?
Easy with the 41 years old, by the way. Hello, I told Drew Brees it's nothing to worry about. It's fine. Crazy part of Drew Brees and that 13-3 record for the Saints is, remember, Brees missed 5 games with that thumb injury. An injury he said actually helped this team and slowed down Father Time.
Aaron, what do you know about Drew Brees?
Well, he came over to the sideline. Trainers and doctors were surrounding him.
Yeah, he looks very upset. Teddy Bridgewater has taken over for the...
Week 2, we're there. The injury happens to your thumb. We had the shots, and I'm standing behind you. You go to grip the ball, and then you just put it down right away.
Well, I mean, I wasn't sure. You know, there was a lot of unknowns.
To see if he can grip a football.
My thumb's just kind of falling off the ball, right? So torn ligament. We're going to reattach this thing, and, you know, 8 to 10 weeks. Come on, it can't be that long, right?
What about silver lining for you? Was there one with having this injury?
You know, from the quarterback position, you know, being in the huddle, being in the pocket, man, you just see it from kind of one angle, right? And when you go to the sideline, man, you see it from a totally different angle. In a lot of cases, what it does is it just kind of simplifies the game for you. And also, you know, I mean, that's 6 weeks of not getting hit.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe the body's a little fresher.
You said this to me week 2, prolong the prime, right? Back-to-back seasons with 13 wins. You guys are just getting better with age. Is that the case?
I believe so. And naturally, just look at the human aging process, right? I mean, eventually your physical skills diminish, right? The more experience that you have, right? The more repetition, the more wisdom, right? So your mental and maybe psychological state is here. And so as that rises with experience, if you can keep the physical skills there, right? Then you are not only in the prime, but you are in your best prime.
Drew Brees, take a bow.
So here we go with the postseason. I mean, this is what it's all about. Forget, you know, the storylines with Minnesota, Los Angeles, your injury. What are your thoughts as you head into this postseason?
Well, I'd say this, you know, we had somebody mention to us prior to the start of this season, and it really kind of struck me. And it's basically somebody said, you know, you guys have seen the devil, so you know what are you afraid of, right? And there's a lot of truth to that.
And Brees from the gun.
Last season, that was probably one of the most devastating losses of my career. I mean, it was, no doubt. And then you go back to the year before and just kind of the way things ended, right, against the Vikings. So unexpected and so just crazy, right? And here we are, positioned to make another run at it, right? So what are we afraid of? Who can take anything away from us at this point, right? That hadn't already been done. So let's just go out, have fun, play relaxed, play confident.
And Drew Brees said it perfectly. We are battle tested. We've created our entire identity around fighting back, building, climbing our way, and like he just said, we are here. Michael Strahan, Drew Brees, and the Saints team absolutely dialed in the month of December, and it looks like that surgically repaired thumb, not an issue at all for him.
Not at all, EA. Great job on that piece. You know, Jimmy, see, I got that right there. I tore the other thumb, you know, but that's what happened when you're a player. You know what I mean? I'm out there, cowboy hit somebody in the helmet, had the surgery, took a while to come back. Very painful, if you can believe it or not. But this
Did you
guy
make it back?
I made it back. It was the last game of the season, so I had the off-season TV.
You made it back. It was the last game.
You
of the
would have
season.
never played.
I'm not Drew Brees, okay? I know what you're trying to say. But this man, since week 8, has been on fire. He leads the league in completion percentage, passing yards per game, and he's thrown as many touchdowns since week 8 as the MVP, Lamar Jackson, with 25. And he talked to that piece about 6 weeks of not getting hit. Well, he's done a great job of not getting hit even since he's been back because he gets the ball out so quickly. He has not been sacked in 4 of the last 5 games. Really, really remarkable player.
Michael, New Orleans has had some problems with officials, and I used to always tell our team, I said, be good enough that the officials are not a factor.
Ooh.
And I tell you, he can make them good enough.
Did you hit him with a 2x4 after that?
With a stick. Hit that official with a stick. That'll take care of it. No, but, you know, I tell you, he'll help them be good enough as Alvin Kamara. Kamara had a slow start to this season, and with everybody concentrating on Michael Thomas, Kamara coming out of the backfield, running the football, splitting out. They play him in a lot of different positions. You know, he's getting hot here the last part of the season. He'll be the key going in through the playoffs. playoffs.
Yeah, he was dinged, and I don't think there's any question they had him on a pitch count. I think Drew, there were a lot of benefits kind of in a backwards way to Drew being injured. One, he mentioned seeing the game from a different perspective on the sideline. I think it also benefited him physically, not to have the wear and tear of those games. And now down the stretch run, he's playing great. And for that team had to win without him, and they did. And now the offensive line's back. The wide receiving core's there. Kamara's back, as Jimmy mentioned. He's such a versatile player. And I think they're going to be tough to beat. And I think they're going to be good enough to overcome anything, including officials.
Yep. And the big stick. Yeah, they got their guards Pete and Warford back. Both of those guys are back. One of the keys today is stopping, of course, Thomas, right? They can't stop Thomas. Let me tell you why, America. Because they play him at split end, opposite the tight end. They play him at flanker. They play him in the slot. And they play him trips. He knows all these positions. If you double him when he's in the slot or the outside, they just go to their tight end Cook. He reads the double on him, he goes to Cook. Or he goes to Ted Ginn Jr. And by the way, if you look at how much difference it is between Thomas and the second receiver on the team, Ted Ginn Jr. has 400 yards receiving. Thomas has 17. He's smart, and they move him around.
1,700, yes.
Cook has come on and been a big weapon for them lately.
7 touchdowns the last 7 games from Cook. All right, Jay Glazer, it's time for him to rejoin us right now to tell us who is in and out of this game, brought to you by Geico.
Well, Sean Payton's happy about Michael Thomas, but also how healthy they've gotten. Remember last week, they had 3 defensive backs out. This week, only Eli Apple's out. Marcus Williams, Von Bell, they are back in. Also for the Minnesota Vikings, look, Dalvin Cook, he's good to go with that shoulder. Adam Thielen with the hamstring, he's good. These two guys have not been on the same field together since week 9. On the other side of the ball, they're missing a couple corners you guys talked about. Eric Kendricks, he's good to go. Got named All-Pro this week. He has a quad injury. They're hoping that he will be fine throughout the game, but they'll have to monitor it. Later on today, Seattle Seahawks, they are banged up. The one guy they're going to lose today is Jerron Brown. He's out, not because of his knee, but because of personal injuries. And finally, for the Philadelphia Eagles, just got off the phone with Lane Johnson. He said, look, my ankle, the swelling just hasn't gone down, so I'm out this week. Zach Ertz, he's going to wear one of these big old rib protectors, Michelin Man type rib protectors, but he is expected to go, although banged up.
All right. You wearing your rib protector?
No, I'm just shredded. Thank you, Stray. Appreciate it.
That's all you?
Thank you for noticing. On
that note, another exciting Saints playoff run starts in just a few minutes here on Fox. So Rob Riggle thought it might be a good idea to look back at the team's recent playoff history. Wait, is that a good idea?
Hello, America. I'm picking the Saints today and thought it would be fun to do a segment called New Orleans Saints. Yay! Playoff memories. All right, what is your favorite Saints playoff memory?
Pass.
You can't pass.
Well, it was probably the Minneapolis Miracle when that one fella forgot how to play defense, and then Stephon Diggs scored that last-second touchdown.
Hold on. You're Vikings fans, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. You're darn tootin' we are.
Whoa, okay, you got me.
I'll be honest, I don't think it was really a miracle because Case Keenum ended up on the Redskins, so I'm pretty sure God hates him.
It's true. That's science.
Well, my favorite New Orleans Saints playoff memory has to be last year's NFC Championship game where every call was above board and made sense, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Are you crying?
No, you're crying.
What about the Super Bowl win? I mean, that's got to be a pretty good memory.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Todd. I brought a truckload of Zatarain spice. We're making a big crawdad boil. We got some shrimp etouffee. You get a little butter, you pull that crawdad out of the thing. You get that.
Where did we get this guy?
I wonder what rules will have to change if the Saints lose this year.
And then you put a little salt, you put pepper. You like the pepper, you put more pepper in it.
Rob, my favorite Saints playoff memory was probably when we went 7-9 and still got a home game and beat them.
Okay, but that could never happen again, right? A team with a much worse record gets home field advantage and beats a much better team? I thought you guys were Saints fans.
We're fans of whoever parties the hardest. Who wants to punch some police horses?
Yeah! Nick Foles is that way.
That steam going, everyone gets in there. Don't let your finger too hot for your fingers.
Now back to a guy who's been spotted in NOLA wearing a Shingles Don't Mean You Can't Mingle t-shirt, Terry Bradshaw.
Shingles. It's chicken pox for adults.
Enjoy the playoffs, everybody.
All right, before we get to our big segment, for those of you at home, you can win $25,000 today by playing the Super 6 contest. Just download the app, play for free. Also, there are a couple of prop bets on the Super 6 contest. You know what prop bets are. They just ask you a question. For example, we'll ask all of you guys. Hello, Tony Gonzalez.
Hey.
We'll ask you guys questions like, all right, who will score the first touchdown for the Saints today?
Michael Thomas.
Jared Cook.
Kamara.
Taysom Hill.
Michael Thomas.
I like that. That's interesting.
I like the variety of choices we've got. All right, it is time to go through our picks today. Right now, if you look at the standings going into the playoffs, Jimmy Johnson's starting to separate from the rest of the group just a little bit. But during the playoffs, each pick...
He's more rested than we are because he doesn't stay all day. And I'm following protest right.
Yeah.
Word.
Each pick has 2 points here. So, I'm going to ask you for 2 games. You got a chance to get 4 points today. Both the games in the NFC today start with the Saints hosting the Vikings and then the Eagles hosting Seattle. You go first.
All right, here we go. I'm going to take the Saints plus 17, and I'm also going to, Howie, I go for it.
Wow.
And then in game number 2, I am going to take...
Drum roll.
Drum roll, please. Put it up there. I want to see what I did.
There.
Seattle by 3.
You can't read
Seattle by 3.
It's right there.
I'm going to go to my file here, TB here.
Oh, boy.
Saints by 17 also. And by the way, we do not see what other each one picks by. Totally
Trust me,
in the blind.
I'm not cheating off there.
There's some artistry here, and it comes from me. Word. I'm going Saints by 17, Philly by 9. Philly by 9. You got it?
Wow. I'm going to go.
Right.
I'm going to go Saints by 7, and I'm going to go Philly at the link by 3.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm going to go with the Saints. I think the Saints offense right now is muy caliente. And they're going to go out there and put up big points by 7.
All of a sudden you speak Spanish.
I speak Spanish, okay?
I don't know what is about that muy. Go ahead.
Muy, caliente. Okay, for the second game, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles by 1 point. The old Philly. You think you're better than me? They're going to bring that swagger today.
The Saints by muy 14. And let's go Seattle by muy 3.
Right. So it's because you guys are split between Philly and Seattle. I want to ask you here, everybody's taking the Saints, but Tony, give us one way Minnesota can win this game today.
The Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is I called it earlier, he's the hootie to the blowfish. He is how this, he's a hootie to the blowfish.
That one comes from.
I need to leave on that. When he runs the ball, that Kirk Cousins is an MVP caliber type player.
You're right.
Where you going, Michael? What are you talking about?
Hey, whatever music you like, you'll be able to celebrate. NFC wildcard playoff is coming your way. I don't know how to follow that up. Kickoff on the other side, Vikings and Saints. Thanks for watching.